Welcome to the most important week of the year for the podcast industry. Welcome to Podcast Movement 2025.
Good morning, everyone. Let's get those headphones up. We're on the blue and red channel, so just press that little rectangular button on the side till it turns blue and red. You might have to press it about 12 times, but you'll eventually get there. How's everyone feeling this morning? Good? Awesome. Well, we've got two amazing speakers coming up for you to talk about how you can go beyond podcast monetization and actually monetize every platform where you distribute content. We've got Miles Gwynn from vSyn and David Kulowich from Mission Media, and they are here to share with you the path to doing this with your own content. So let's give them a very warm welcome.
All right, thank you, Courtney. Good to be here. How's everyone feeling? Good? Get hype a little bit. I'm David Kulowich, CEO and founder of Mission Media. We are a influencer platform helping creators monetize content across all the platforms that matter, and that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about today with me.
Yeah, so I'm Miles Gwynn, COO of vSyn. vSyn is a 24/7 sports broadcasting channel. We're talking to sports bettors across the country about the line and market movement within it. We're talking about the opportunities in sports betting. We're talking about every game as a chance for an opportunity for somebody to make a profit. With that comes tips, guides, tools, advice, and strategy in sports betting. So our goal is to treat this like the CNBC of sports, where we're looking at it like real markets.
Yeah, I always like to say vSyn is like the Bloomberg or data and information on the sports betting industry. So on the last session, we heard a little bit about, as creators, how you can start monetization. Today, we want to take it when you become an enterprise, when you have, for example, like 1 million downloads or 1 million listeners or a big audience. How can we distribute our content to multiple different endpoints and cross-platforms to be able to capitalize and make more money? Because hopefully that's what we're all here to do, have fun and make a little money while we're at it, too. So Miles, tell us a little bit about the vSyn distribution strategy.
Well, so like the title of the conference is, or the title of the session is about doing and monetizing everything. It starts with doing everything. So vSyn runs a 24/7 linear channel with 19 hours of live content a day. That is a lot. That is not the starting point. But when you can get to that kind of a level of distribution and content creation, you have the opportunity to then go to a Sirius satellite radio and be a channel on Sirius satellite radio. You get to engage with terrestrial radio partners and say, hey, do you want to pick up specific shows or content? So there is like a intentionality here about starting to fill the day. We approached it as this is what bettors need throughout the day to have the information. We want to give you reactions to what happened last night, strategy for the games ahead that day. And because we were doing that, we had some unique opportunities to distribute shows and short form content in terrestrial radio. We also, that logically led to podcasting, which is what this group's familiar with. So vSyn cranks out a lot of show-based podcasts, but then also podcasts that stand alone, are only available in the podcast format, where we start talking about sports specifically. We get into golf, college football, and other interests that our bettors had, and we kind of responded to our audience and what they were into.
Yeah, and also talk to me a little bit about your digital strategy, right?
So on digital, again, it's a lot of doing everything. We do a website, we have writers, we have contributors who are posting content, we have tools that are attractive to our audience and give them a reason to come to our website continuously. We're looking for opportunities to engage with our audience there. We have a newsletter that goes out every morning at 3:30 Pacific, where we're all based in Las Vegas, so that it's available on the East Coast for our audience. And we have our own and operated app, web experiences, where we take our content and you get to have that sort of control over it internally.
Yeah, and from a social perspective, let's talk a little bit about that as well, real quick.
Yeah, so quickly on social, we have to be where our audience is. There's an active community on Twitter for sports bettors, so we're engaging with them, and taking our content and repurposing it into short form clips has been critical for our audience and getting that information out as well.
So with all those destinations, right? There's multiple ways we got to get that content out. So talk us through your distribution strategy from a technology standpoint.
Yeah, so on the technology standpoint, you got to have partners here who understand the hurdles and challenges of getting your signal to where it needs to go, and also understand the right conditions for advertising and monetizing that. So we partner with Roberts Communications on some of the linear broadcast television. So we get to YouTube TV as a channel in the sports tier, but we have to condition that signal to meet their needs, have redundancy, and we have to have Scuddy triggers, which is part of the technology for programmatic ad serving, which DK will go into a little bit later. We also have Simplecast, who we've partnered with for the podcast distribution. There's great analytics there. There's a lot of just the ability to upload podcasts and manage your content there. We have to do it both places. Take the linear, take the custom-made content, and all put it into Simplecast through the various methods that we have. Part of that involves our digital content partnership with Zype. Zype is a backlight company that helps us manage all of our video content. So we're creating all this content. It's one piece of content. It's the audio, it's the video, all coming from one source. When it's in video format, now we get to manage our app. Now we get to post it to social media. We get to let our audience come to our website to check replays and to watch the live stream as well through Zype. And then we have our live audio, which Stream Guys, who's running around and at the show, they've got some people here today. They're a great partner in the space. We've worked with them on video when we were scaling up and getting started. They do absolutely wonderful audio support. We love working with Stream Guys, and they've been a critical part of that growth for vSyn and getting it to the different places we need. The 450 radio affiliates is an interesting one because we created new content, shorter form little updates that a lot of radio affiliates found valuable. So finding partners who have synergistic content and asking how can you help give them something that they're missing has been a big help for us in getting our radio distribution up.
So a lot of what we're talking about, Miles, is creating a singular piece of content and distributing it to multiple destinations, right? But in addition to that, you also have format-specific offerings as well, right?
Yeah.
Just walk us through that real quick.
So we're talking there, like the podcasts that we get into, those are format-specific. It's podcast first, and then we might turn some of those into a video product down the line. The radio that we're talking about is definitely formatted for broadcast radio. And then the website has the podcasts, has the newsletter, and our content's fed back into it in a specific format so that you can read the articles. There's a companion piece of the content we've created.
Yeah, and one of the things we're excited to announce is our podcast-only launch, right?
Yeah, so this is an important announcement for here. We announced this morning, but Phil Hellmuth, Mike Matzow. And,
any gamblers here? Anybody play poker? Anybody? Nobody? Okay.
So if you play poker, you might be familiar with some of these names.
He's the best poker player in the world, basically, so we're really excited. He's going to be doing a podcast for vSyn.
Yeah, and these are guys who, despite the poker background and all they do there, they love sports betting, and we're going to have them on vSyn's podcast network talking about sports betting and bringing their unique spin, being some of the best poker
we'll
players.
Use him as an influencer to monetize across all of our other channels, and right, that's what we're going to talk about a little bit more, right? So collectively, right, we reach 8 million people, but on podcasts, it's only 1 million a month, right? So that's what we want to talk about. How can you take your podcast audience and grow your influence across other channels, right? And that's a big piece of the equation, right? Because if we stay format specific, I think we're going to limit ourselves, right? We believe that there's a world where creating content should be format agnostic, and distribution is the key to success. Distribution is king, right? That's what's going to get you more visibility and more money, which is what we're really excited about. So, how do we take 1 million podcast listeners and turn them into 5 million radio listeners or 500,000 website visitors that we own and operate, right? So when we think about our content offering today, right, we want to engage all the senses, right? We want to listen. Obviously, that's what we're here for. We know that's an engaging format, but we also want to be able to watch, right? There's no reason that every creator can't put a camera in front of their face and start creating that video element to their show immediately, right? For that matter, there's enough AI transcription services that every single one of your shows can also be an article for you to post to your own website and start to engage your audience and bring them into your first-party environment, right? That's such an important piece here. You need to have a direct relationship with your audience and your listeners. I think everybody knows that, but how do we do that, right? We create destinations for them to come to where we can start to have a dialogue with that, and certainly creating print. So when we have these different opportunities, when we're listening in our podcast or our radio, when we're reading on our website, and when we're watching, that creates a plethora of marketing and advertising opportunities and monetization, right? So the last session, Jordan did a great job of showing you how you can monetize your podcast specifically at a certain size, but what happens now when you have a website to monetize that's getting a lot of traffic, as well as a YouTube channel that's getting a lot of traffic, and how do we engage marketers and brands to take advantage of all that? Well, it's not easy. This is the ecosystem that advertisers are living in, right? It would be nice if you could just call up brands all day, and you can, and we're going to talk about that, but the reality is advertising technology today is more convoluted than it's ever been, okay? This is called the Lumascape. Has anybody ever seen this? This was produced about 12 years ago by a man named Terry Kowalja, who is kind of the king of, or the godfather of advertising technology. And when you want to go monetize a piece of content, these are the channels that as a publisher you have to go through as a creator, right? So we're going to try to make this a little bit more simple for you today, right? Our solution at Mission for vSyn is talking about influence, right? If you're a creator, if you work for publishers, you are an influencer, right? And so influence is platform agnostic, right? And that all of a sudden puts you in a position to start monetizing all of your pieces of content, right? Not just your show, right? We want brand sponsorships. We're going to talk about brand sponsorships. Hint, hint, engage your audience. Ask them, advertise to your own listeners about coming on as sponsors, right? And bringing in and talking to their friends, right? Our live reads that get integrated, this is the one thing we already do well in podcasting. We can already speak eloquently about our marketers, right? You can then use that across your social, across your linear, across your website as well. And brings us to our measurement piece at the bottom, right? We have a leg up than other channels, than digital publishers, than linear or traditional publishers, because podcasters, we have to give offers and vanity URLs to people, and those measurement strategies work across all of our assets, right? Then the most important thing, and I'm sure you're hearing a lot about it, is we have to get our programmatic advertising technology stack in place, okay? So we have to have partners to do that, but it's really important that as a creator and as an influencer, you're starting to think about this and who you're gonna work with to make you a lot of money, right? So the 3 pillars of this session is really simple. We try to boil it down, right? First one, programmatic platforms, okay, right? So who do we use at vSyn? We use, as he said, Simplecast for hosting. Simplecast has Simplecast Pro and an AdsWiz integrated stack for ad serving, and an SSP, a supply-side platform, to make our inventory available to audio buyers in what we call demand-side platforms or third-party DSPs. So we can put our shows up and actually have people bid to advertise in our content, right? If for our other assets, our website specifically, by the way, if you're going to create content outside of podcasts, you're going to have to work with Google probably to some extent, right? Google owns YouTube, right? And we use Google Ad Manager for our website display ads and banner ads, right? Within Google Ad Manager, you can connect to multiple different destinations and buyers, both individual and local, as well as national and brand buyers, okay? Then we use a company called SpringServe. Some of you may have heard of it, for our video ad server. They very much offer a similar product as AdsWiz for video advertising, for our pre-roll videos, our mid-roll videos. And finally, YouTube directly, obviously, for our YouTube channel, as well as our YouTube Premium, which has become more recently one of the best revenue generators.
Yeah, you can't avoid YouTube on that one.
Yeah. So obviously, also, just so you know, in your hosting platforms, you should be able to distribute directly to YouTube, right? So if you're not already doing that, 100%. But this whole thing is about distributing everywhere, so take the message there. The next piece between our programmatic partnerships is what I call our platform partners, or our agency partners. The advertising agency today, as you may have heard about in the last session, is very format specific though, right? And that's one of the challenges that the ecosystem is going through, right? So you have a lot of audio advertising agencies here who might buy your podcast. You might have digital agencies who buy your website. You may have video or TV agencies, right? So the question becomes, how do we work? So we have to set up those partnerships with each specific format, but how do we work to get a single buyer across all of our content everywhere, right? And there's no better place than going to the brands directly, right? So we have a great story, actually, that we were just thinking about before. Yeah. You want to talk about Mamas?
So as DK was saying, talking to your audience and letting them know that you're open to do business with them is critical. Mama's Pizzas is a local chain here in Dallas. The owner of the company is a huge fan of vSyn, and we run ads and we ask people to, come and talk to us about doing business. And he reached out to us and said, hey, what can we do? We were thinking about that brand partnership and how we can integrate them into our shows. We're talking sports and sports betting. Where does pizza fit in? Well, in betting, there's a term called a pizza bet. This is not like, your best, most confident bet you're making. This is just something you're throwing a little bit of money down on. So we just call it a pizza bet, like you're buying something small, like dinner that night or a slice of pizza. We had a show that was actually talking about, look, these aren't the most confident things, but here's a couple of ideas on pizza bets that we're looking at throughout the day. That show was able to take that already sort of created piece within the show and say, we could attach this Mama's Pizza sponsorship to it. So now it's got a live read. It has a connectivity with the audience in a way that it wouldn't on something that's less organic. And it's worked out really well. We're going to have some pizza later on today. and check them out.
So I think the takeaway from that is, how do we create content in segments within our shows that are contextually relevant for different advertiser categories, right? For example, if you're a show about healthcare, you can have a dental strategy, you can have an insurance segment, right? You can have a health and wellness or a mindfulness segment, right? And you can break down your macro vertical into micro verticals and then work with individual sponsors across that to work with you across then in your newsletter, on your website, on your YouTube channel. And that's really what it's about. We have to start thinking about the content we're creating. How can it align with different advertisers and their messages? That's a really important element of monetizing across all platforms. So just to wrap up here, and then we're going to get into some questions or give you guys back some time, right? When we think about what we're doing, our core monetization strategies, first and foremost, it's doing what everybody does, creating scalable and trusted content, right? Becoming an influencer across format. You have your podcast, you need to publish it to a website absolutely right away, right? We got to start asking people to sign up for a newsletter, okay? We want to start to explore linear partnerships. If you look at what iHeart's doing, they're one of the biggest in the game. They're putting all their podcasts on their radio stations. There is appetite from radio stations to pick up podcasts, and you can absolutely explore those. Go into your local station. They're hungry for content, okay? We're on 400 radio stations, okay? We have the morning show. Same thing with TV, right? We talked about newsletters. Also, CTV is coming, fast channels, free ad-supported television. Just like the way Apple and Spotify have enabled us to distribute our content, our shows through there, LG, Samsung, Amazon, Roku, they're also enabling content creators to put their videos onto those platforms for effectively no charge. So it's really important to start exploring what a fast channel looks like. If you don't have 24 hours a day of programming, talk to your colleagues, right? Work together, find like-minded creators and build a network together, right? And we got to start pushing that out and cross-promote. Create contextually relevant segments, right, within the content that advertisers and marketers will want to take advantage of, and then ask them on your show. Don't be afraid to promote. Hey, if you're a business owner, if you're a marketer, if you want to get your message out, contact me, right? Bring in a partner like Mission. Some of our best leads come from our audience and our listeners, so you really have to engage and tap your most valuable customers, not just for subscriptions, but also to actually market to your own to their fellow listeners. That's a very powerful way to attract brand sponsors across platform. Also, we want to make our inventory and our shows data-driven and available to programmatic buyers. It's effectively free revenue. If you're not doing that, you're leaving it on the table, right? You can add pre-rolls, mid-rolls, and post-rolls, and they could be incremental to the live baked-in content. That's the core of the podcasting strategy. And always think about measurement. We didn't talk a ton about that today, but as you start to work with brands, they're all going to want to know about it. Like I said previously, we do have a leg up because if you have offer codes that you're giving your customers, you're going to be able to dominate cross-platform. So 100%. So anything else?
No, I think just, as you grow and as you're trying to develop, this is a lot of work. And I wouldn't say like, hey, just jump into all of it, but these are all just different opportunities that come up over time. So if there's a chance to do a little bit more with a partner over here or a chance to engage with your audience in a new place, take it and create that engagement, create that new distribution, but really think about how you can monetize it right away and how you can extract the value out of it.
Yeah, cool. So thank you. That's it from us.
Any questions?
Any questions? Nobody? We got one. Here we go.
So obviously so many different ways to monetize content podcasts these days. At what point are you concerned or not concerned about squeezing monetization, reaching a diminishing return in terms of audience enjoyment and maybe losing audience because it's just now I see an ad here and ad everywhere?
Yeah, super important question, right? How do we avoid cannibalizing our audience, right? That's the question, right? We give them too many ads. Well, first of all, with our pre-rolls and our dynamics for our podcast, we limit it to 2 pre-rolls. I mean, that's very simple, right? Any other ad should be included and be organic with the content. So it's additive, not distracting, right? Same thing on our website. We tested full interstitial banners. So before you got to the website, you had to actually go through a banner ad, like a full screen one, like effectively a pop-up. It didn't work. We took it down after 3 weeks, right? We got great money real quick, but the audience was complaining. So we have to find native spots within our content. So instead what we do, we use a company called STN, Send to News, right? So they take 30-second clips of our shows and they recycle it for free on our website with pre and post-roll video ads. And that's additive because actually our video, which we didn't mention, is a subscription service. So our audio, our podcast, and our live radio is free, but people actually pay to watch our content. That's one of our big revenue generators of subscriptions. So what we do is a way to engage people and get more involved is give them a smaller clip of our video for free, which is ad supported, and that becomes like something better for them as opposed to interrupting their experience. Now they're getting more, and we're able to add ads on both sides of that. So 100%, that's something to be cognizant of, and we're always working to optimize it.
Yeah, and from a content standpoint, if my audience wants to watch on their TV, I just want to be there. If you want to listen in your car, I'm doing everything I can to be there. I'll meet you where you're at. I'm not going to put up barriers to you seeing my content. So part of that aggressive distribution strategy is wherever there's a sports bettor, we want to talk to you.
Yeah. And I think that's the takeaway. We're moving into a world where consumers, I mean, we're already here, right? We're are format agnostic. They don't care. They want their content here or there. You got to be there, right? If you're going to be creative, if you're going to have influence, which is what is going to drive brand dollars and marketing dollars, then you have to be where the audience is. Anything else? Time?
Are we at time? All right. Thank you all.
Good. Thank you.